Hello, and welcome to the Majors of the Month series. I am Emily Long, Senior Career Advisor at High Point University. This series is dedicated to helping you explore and understand what you can do with the various majors HPU offers. Each month, a different major will be highlighted, and we'll host a panel including a faculty member, employer, and career and professional development team member to discuss aspects of the major. The major of this month is Studio Art. And today we'll be speaking with Professor Scott Rayner, Department Chair and Associate Professor of Art and Graphic Design at HPU, and Gina Figliozzi, Coordinator of Marvel Softlines at the Walt Disney Company, about what you can do as a studio art major. One thing you may not know about the studio art major is that there are various fields you can pursue. Some of those include fine art, commercial art, media, photography, sales, museums and galleries, education, and many more. Be sure to utilize the What Can I Do with This Major link at the end of this panel discussion to further explore your options as a studio art major. So let's get started. Professor Rayner, I'll have you introduce yourself first for us.
Sure. Hi, everybody, and thank you for having me on. My name is Scott Rayner, and I'm the Associate Professor and Chair of Art and Graphic Design. I've been at HPU for about 16 years, and I feel like my passion in teaching is to try to help connect students, take their art skills and be able to apply those into some kind of career path that is fulfilling.
Great, thank you so much. We're so happy to have you here. And Gina, could you introduce yourself for us too, please?
Yep. So hi, my name is Gina Figliozzi, and again, thank you for having me. I graduated High Point in 2020, and then I went back for my master's in the Business and Communications program, and now I'm currently working for the Walt Disney Company, and I am the coordinator for the Marvel Softlines team, which is a fancy word for licensing.
That's great. We are really excited to hear more about that. So thank you so much for being here. And so we'll get started with our first question, which is directed for Professor Rayner. So could you tell us, why is it great to be a studio art major?
Sure, I can. It is great to be a studio art major because you get to do something in your classes and within your major that you're passionate about. So, for example, a lot of our students like Gina, or former students like Gina below, they came in to HPU and they knew that they had a lot of artistic talents, but sometimes you're trying to figure out what your pathway needs to be. And I think sometimes people tell you that, hey, just because you're an art major, are you sure you want to major in that? Is that, are opportunities going to be available? But I always say, yes, doors always will open. And so what makes it great to be an art major is that you get to take studio classes. So we're very different from a lot of the other majors on campus. So most majors, typically, you're going to have more of a lecture environment where the professor comes up and he teaches and you write papers and take exams and quizzes, and there's nothing wrong with that. But our classes are studio based, and that's a bit different. And what that means is that students come into a room and you're given more or less an assignment or a problem to solve visually. So for example, it may be, can you draw this setup? Can you draw this person's face? Whatever that is. And so then we spend the entire class period working. So we're drawing, we're sketching. As a professor, I come around and I'm helping you. I'm working one-on-one with you to help you improve and get better at whatever the artistic area that you're pursuing. For other places within our program, if you're a photographer, our classes are going out onto campus and you're taking photographs. You're going to be learning how to work that camera in real life type settings, as well as within the studio. So I think it's great that we get these studio classes that are more hands-on and really let you explore your creative voice during those studio sessions.
Yes, that's great. Thank you so much. I really love that perspective of the studio, as you mentioned, and the hands-on opportunities that you have through that. And of course, the creativity. So thank you so much. So my next question is for Gina. Can you tell us, why do employers like to hire studio art majors?
Sure. So I went into this major not really knowing what I wanted to do. And Professor Rayner was my advisor. And he could tell you how many times I switched my major. But once I actually settled on studio art, it was honestly the best decision because I was able to learn in new ways. And studio art has a lot to do with problem solving. Like Professor Rayner said, you're given a problem and that's your project and you work on that throughout class. But you have to find new, innovative, and creative ways to fix that problem. And employers really like that aspect of studio art. And every time I interview, they ask me, what made you major in studio art? And what do you think you could, bring to this job with that degree? And it didn't even have to be anything related directly to art when I was interviewing. But what every single employer liked was that I said that I could bring a new perspective to things because I was trained to think in all different ways. And sometimes they're not the most realistic way, but they still work. And that's really what studio art provides you. It's that creative mindset that allows you to approach things differently. And that could be applied to any job.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. So definitely those skills that employers are looking for. Some of those top skills like problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, those are skills that can be applied to any type of job, like you mentioned. So I think that's wonderful. And Gina, could you tell us a little bit more about what you specifically do with your role as coordinator of Marvel Softlines?
Yeah, so as coordinator of Marvel Softlines, I am doing a lot of the work that is necessary for the team to succeed because it is an entry level role. So I'm not making the big decisions yet, but it's great because I'm learning a lot. And my area is just all around licensing and the artwork that goes into products that you'll see in stores that have Marvel characters on them. There's a lot of decision making that goes behind that. Everything to do with preparing calendars or making lookbooks or decks, I'm in charge of notifying a team of any changes, looking at numbers just to see how everything's doing. A lot of really fun stuff and a lot of really hard stuff too. But with studio art, I've kind of been given that ability to give input to what I think will work and what won't work, and looking at the market and seeing where we have room to expand or maybe take away, and looking to see what kind of products consumers would like, and especially visually what they would like. So my artistic background really helps me with that. That will help me make good opinions to share with my bosses. So it's great.
Yes, absolutely. That sounds like a really great and fun opportunity. So thank you for sharing. So my next question will be for both of you, and I'll have Professor Rayner start with this one. So what are some great things that our students can put on their resume as a studio art major?
I would say this is something unique that we bring within High Point University's studio art program is that we have a specific accreditation for art and design schools, and it's called a NASAD, N-A-S-A-D. It's the National Association of Schools of Art and Design. So it's a very specific accreditation for art students, if you will. And so I tell my students to please make sure that you know that you went to an institution that has that accreditation. It's a very difficult and rigorous accreditation. I always make the joke that I had, it took 3 years for us to get it. And I had dark brown hair when we started, and I have salt and pepper hair when we finished. But the degree assures, or the accreditation assures, a certain level of rigor within our programs. It makes sure that every single class that we teach meets a certain standard. And we're currently the only private school in North Carolina that actually has that accreditation. So it's something we're really proud of. So we always want our students to put that onto their resume, to let the world know that you went to a program that has that accreditation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point to add that perhaps to the education section of students' resumes, just bringing to the employer's attention that School of Art and Design is accredited. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Gina, I'd like to ask you too, and maybe even as a studio art alum, what were some things that you had on your resume that you feel like was really beneficial for you in getting your employment?
I think putting both hard and soft skills on the resume is really important. So on my resume, I had drawing, illustration, painting, and all of that. But then I also put things like visual development, and creative problem solving. So tying in the two, I think, is really important to do. So that would be my advice.
Something that's very unique and specific to us is that we bring in a lot of very well-known artists and designers into our classes as well. We also take our students places, I would say in a very, very unique places, and have a set of unique experiences. Like, for example, I actually took Gina, we went on a art and design trip to Disneyland out in California, and we met with an animator, we met with an Imagineer, and they shared a lot of really unique insights about what it was like for working for Disney. So clearly that planted a seed. Gina followed that into her career. And, you know, for example, the one I would put on my resume is that we got to meet with this gentleman named Rolly Crump. And he's one of the 2 surviving Imagineers who are still alive that worked with Walt Disney on the original Disneyland park. And so he shared some wonderful, wonderful wisdom with us. And that's just a unique experience that HPU students got to have.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing. So definitely adding accreditation, those hard and soft skills, those artistic and creative experiences that you have. And then, as you mentioned, Professor Rayner, some of those really special experiential learning opportunities, perhaps where you were able to meet or even work with some artists. So that's great. Thank you so much. So my final question, this one will also be directed for both of you, and I'll have Gina start for us. What would you say is your best piece of advice for a studio art major here at HPU?
Best piece of advice, I would say, don't give up, keep going. You will find something. This is a very special degree. It's different than, I think, anything that we offer on campus, and it gives you things that you could take anywhere in life. So I would say, once you're in this major, find your little area where you really thrive and where you really like. Professor Rayner can vouch, and so can Professor Brown. I was not a good person to be throwing on the wheel and making everything ceramics, but I love drawing. So I made my senior project more towards drawing, but I also tried to include things that I learned throughout all of my classes, because you really do. You learn so much just about all different cultures even, and all different art around the world. And the opportunities that you really get from this major are phenomenal. So I would say stick with it and just be creative even when you're job searching too, because this really applies to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you so much. And Professor Rayner, what about you? What's your best piece of advice for our art majors?
My best piece of advice is to follow your heart, follow your bliss. You know, God gave you an incredible artistic talent, and you should take advantage of that talent you've been given. Don't let anyone else try to sway you or talk you out of that abilities that that you have. And I feel like a lot of times art majors are questioned about, why would you choose to major in something like that? As an artist myself, I'm a painter. I always knew that I was going to do something related to art. Even from a very young age in elementary school, I was just drawing and painting all the time. And so we really try to give our students this opportunity to come in and express and find their creative voice. And that's easier, said than done. It takes a lot of time, and it is a rigorous and challenging major, but at the same time, it's very rewarding. And so I hope students who are thinking about it will consider it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate what you said about there are definitely going to be challenges, but the reward from that, I think that's really special. So thank you so much. And this concludes our Majors of the Month series for Studio Art. So Professor Rayner and Gina, I thank you both so much for being here today and sharing your information and advice for us about studio art. And students, I would like you to draw your attention to the links that you will see on your screen. You'll see what can I do with this major, where you'll be able to explore other options that you can pursue with the studio art major. And then of course, we also encourage you to schedule an appointment with a career advisor so that we can have those conversations about what major, what career path may be a great fit for you. So thank you all so much for being here with us today, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you.